SBC Media.
Welcome to iGaming Daily, analysing the news from the betting and gaming industry all over the globe. Supported by SBC Summit Latino America, bringing together the leadership teams and product specialists from retail and online operators in Latin American markets.
Discover the potential of Latin America's booming iGaming and sports betting markets at SBC Summit Latin America, the premier industry event in the region. Join SBC at the Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Miami from October 31st to November the 2nd. Register now at sbcevents.com.
Sponsorship deals are increasingly common between football teams and sportsbooks in Latin America. And sports betting regulations in the city and the province of Buenos Aires have paved the way for new agreements between these companies and clubs. Home of football legends like Maradona, Riquelme, and loathe him or love him, Carlos Tevez, Boca Juniors this week signed a deal with the global operator Betsson, which will stamp its brand on the front of the team's jersey. This is only the most recent agreement signed by an Argentinian team, but teams like River Plate, Vélez and Newell's are also navigating the sportsbook sponsorship world. In the latest episode of iGaming Daily, sponsored by SBC Summit Latin America, I, your host James Ross, am joined by Lucia Mourinho, head of B2B LATAM at SBC, and Fernando Knott, business journalist at SBC Noticias. How are you both doing today?
I'm really good, thank you. How are you?
I'm decent. I'm on the mend after, I had a virus the other day, so I'm on the mend after that a little bit. But no, I'm doing good. Fernando, are you okay?
Yeah, all good here. Hope you feel better soon. Really happy to be on the iGaming Daily podcast and speaking about something that's really interesting in how it's developing, not only in the region of Latin America, but also worldwide.
Perfect. Oh, and thank you for saying it well soon. No, I was bragging to my partner that I felt like Matt Damon from Contagion because she had the virus first and then my son had it as well. And in that film, Matt Damon just doesn't pick up this virus, which is like a pandemic thing. And I shot myself in the foot because she had showed absolutely no sympathy for me when I was throwing up the other night. So, no, but good to be here, good to be back, good to be on the mend, and good to be with you two as well for the first podcast that I'm back. And it's a really interesting topic because sponsorship throughout Latin America, certainly when it comes to sport, it's insane from a UK's perspective. I know we have quite a lot anyway. But just the amount in Latin America is it's really cool to see. And just to start off with the Boca Juniors and Betsson story, Lou, can you just provide some context around this deal?
Yeah, but let me start by saying that you should put some respect on Tevez's name.
I am absolutely not. But,
yeah, true Manchester United fan, right?
Yeah, I loved him for the 2 years he was at Manchester United.
I mean, he won a Champions League there.
Yeah, I absolutely
and the Premier League.
And then he went to Manchester City.
Yeah, I mean, then you should have treated him right.
Oh, we tried. United fans loved him, and then he pretty much disrespected Sir Alex Ferguson after he went to City. So it was just he cut all ties with us after that.
Yeah, well, put some respect.
I can see why they don't like Tevez, but he's still a legend, though.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a quality footballer. Still not a fan of him. You will not change my mind on this one. The fact I included him in the intro is the best you're gonna get from me.
Well, I can work with that. But to answer the question, Boca had been looking for a new main sponsor for quite some time, and just like some authorities from the club said a few times, I would guess that the non-urgency around this shows how well the club was, economically speaking, which is a surprising change from other South American teams that usually jump to the opportunity pretty quickly. Now, this is not the most groundbreaking thing about the deal. I think it's the fact that it's a sports betting company partnering with one of the biggest teams at a continental level, and I might actually say at a global level even. So from what we know, the deal is initially signed until the end of 2024, and it will feature Betsson's brand on the front of the jersey. It hasn't been specified yet, but the operator will work on different initiatives with the club. So I'm guessing that the deal includes like marketing activations and I don't know, some promotions for fans, as we've seen with other similar deals in the country.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to see how Boca took a whole year to figure out which company they will partner with for this sponsorship deal, and it's really interesting to see it turned out to be a Betsson, which is a big name in the gaming industry. So I'm actually really happy with this deal. Of course, we'll still have to wait and see what a type of activations and different initiatives Boca and Betsson turn out doing, but I think it's gonna be a fun partnership to see, especially after one whole year for Boca without any sponsorship deals in the front of the shirt. They only got the back sponsorship from broadcasting service like DirecTV like a few months ago. So they weren't getting any revenue from sponsorships. So like you said, that speaks about how well the club was financially, and even without selling players like maybe River Plate did with Julian Alvarez and Enzo Fernandez to European clubs and getting a lot of revenue from that. Boca didn't. So it was quite confusing to see they weren't getting any main sponsor for the shirt. But now that Betsson comes in with this deal, it's really, I think it will be really profitable both in terms of money for Boca, but also for both parts in terms of what a sponsorship gives to both the sponsor and the team.
And if you look in the UK's perspective, even though the Premier League have announced that front of shirt sponsorships with gambling companies, a ban's going to be coming in soon. I think it's from the 2025 season. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one in the comments section below. But these kind of agreements are still pretty common in the Premier League. I mean, recently Newcastle extended their partnership with Fun88. You had Aston Villa, I think they signed with BK8, I think it is. And even today, we found out that Burnley Football Club have announced a front of shirt sponsorship with W88. Is this kind of a similar trend in South America and specifically in Argentina?
I think it's important to mention that when we talk about regulations, South America and Latin America in general is a bit more informal. I mean, some countries don't even have advertising rules, even if they do have a regulated sports betting industry. So it's pretty much a gray market when it comes to this. And that being said, it doesn't mean that most markets don't self regulate or are discussing rules like Chile and Brazil. But for Argentina, it's still pretty new now. Um, I'm not saying that these deals didn't exist in the past. In fact, they did. For example, in the province of Buenos Aires, both Banfield and Lanús had deals with Codere. And in 2018, the former governor, Maria Eugenia Vidal, signed a decree canceling the deals. I'm not going to name anyone, but I discussed this with a former club president, and this person said that the cancellation was in retaliation of the clubs being against privatization. So to force their hand, the Vidal administration basically hit them where it hurts the most and made them lose thousands of dollars. And up until a few years, they couldn't partner with a gambling company. So no, it's not that common in Argentina or in South America, excluding Brazil, as it is in some European countries.
Yeah, but I think it's starting to get more and more common as time goes by, because I think besides Banfield and Lanús, Tigre also had like this deal with Casino Trilenium at some point. But now that online gambling is regulated in the city of Buenos Aires, in the province of Buenos Aires, Cordoba is coming in, Mendoza coming in as well, Misiones, and many provinces in Argentina are starting to come and regulating the online gaming industry. These type of sponsorships are starting to appear, to show up, and companies like Bplay or now Betsson or Codere even promoting its online brand with River Plate. I think it does begin to seem like these type of deals are starting to race by like that motorcycle back there. But
Oh boy.
but yeah, that's just the companies rushing to get these type of deals because they are extremely popular in other countries like Brazil. Like companies really need to get on their motorcycles and race to try and find these type of deals because like Brazil has, I think it still doesn't have a sponsorship deal yet, but there's only one team in the Serie A of the Brasileirão without a sponsorship deal with a gaming company. So out of the first of the main two leagues, like Division 1, Division 2 in Brazil, there are 40 teams and only one team out of those 40 doesn't have a sponsorship deal with a gaming company. So it is common now in Brazil. It's starting to be something more and more usual to see gaming companies coming into to sponsor Argentinian clubs as well. And well, of course, Colombia has. I think I'm not sure what the number is, but most teams also have gaming sponsorships. Peru also has many teams with gaming sponsorships. So it does become to more and more popular in the region to see gaming companies in football shirts.
Mm-hmm. Lou, I'm going to direct the question over to you. Fernando, feel free to answer as well. In the UK, we've recently had the gambling white paper, and there was a lot of emphasis on gambling front of shirt sponsorships, certainly targeting a younger audience as well. But yet we're still seeing a lot of sponsorships in football. I foresee that kind of sponsorships to diminish in the next 5 to 10 years, or a different angle taken at least. But what are the kind of regulatory processes in not just South America, because every region is different. Let's focus on Argentina. Regulation-wise, what's different compared to the UK, and how stringent is it on gambling advertising?
Well, when I said that South America is a bit more informal, I meant mainly Argentina.
Okay.
Because, we have multiple jurisdictions within Argentina. The two biggest ones are, the city and the province of Buenos Aires. And they're both pretty similar in some ways, but at the same time, neither have like an advertising regulation. So it's mainly operators self-regulating, which is, I think, the biggest change when it comes to South America and maybe Europe or maybe the UK. When we talk about online gaming, sports betting, both those jurisdictions are two of the most prominent ones in the region, and they're definitely by far the most important ones in Argentina. So if we say that those are the most important ones and they don't have advertising rules, I think it's a pretty clear picture of how it works and how different it is still. Like, of course, they're constantly working towards improving the industry, improving the conditions and protecting users, but there's still a long way to go. Now, I'm not saying that it's like you see gambling ads everywhere, because I actually think that you see less gambling ads, for example, on TV or doing games, than you see in the UK. But it would be better if we had some rules in place.
Yeah, and when you say it's a bit informal, I would say it's a lot informal. It's very informal, actually. Like gaming has been popular in this region, especially in Argentina for quite some time, even though it only got regulated in 2020, I think. But people are already familiar with gaming and they already know these companies. Some ads have been displayed on TV throughout the years from international companies. But I think this type of exposure the gambling industry is getting in the last past months has generated some. It's not generated sympathy, I'd say, in some sectors of the population. Some parts of some segments of the mass media has also criticized an increase in gambling activities in the country. So it's definitely necessary that the government starts sitting down with companies, and companies, of course, also sit down with the government to discuss, like I would say, like guidelines for like responsible gambling, responsible advertising, and that type of stuff. That still is definitely not an issue so far, but it can turn out to be an issue if the market gets more and more competitive and companies decide to step up and increase their advertising efforts. And so I think it's definitely necessary that the government and the companies, the gaming companies, the gaming operators, sit down and discuss some type of regulation to enforce before it turns to be something like it happens in Spain, where they all of a sudden decided nothing is allowed. We will ban all sponsorships, will restrict the advertising, etc., etc.
So going back to the Betsson Boca agreement, besides from brand exposure and also Boca getting a new revenue source, how does this deal benefit both sides?
For companies, I think, and especially with the promotions for the fans, that it gives them a chance to increase the market share, like build brand awareness, and it lets people know that what they offer. But obviously, for fans that are not as aware as we are about sportsbook, if I was a casual fan with basic knowledge of the sports betting industry and I wanted to bet, I think Betsson will have the edge because Boca is my team, and it proves me that if they can afford this kind of sponsorship, it means that they're a serious company. And it's worth noting that it's not just Boca. They also signed a deal with Racing Club to have the brand in the back of the jersey. So out of the 5 biggest teams, they have deals with 2. And we could argue that these are the most successful ones in the past few years as well. Now, thinking about the teams, out of the 10 last Libertadores, Brazilian teams have won 7 times. And it's a fact that the Argentinian league is losing quality and good players because of the economic crisis that the country is constantly under. And if you look at Brazilian teams, they have a billion sponsor on their jerseys, and they become so successful that the prices that they're asking are also getting higher. And you could also argue that they're higher than Boca's, and Boca is the most expensive team when it comes to front of shirt sponsorships and sponsorships in general. So partnering with these companies will allow Argentinian teams to have more resources and compete better at a continental level. I don't think it will change much for teams like Boca, but it would massively help others that don't have numbers as good as Boca's.
Yeah, it definitely increases the interest in getting in the market. Like I said before, like companies are starting to rush and try to find which team they can get a deal with. And like besides brand exposure and revenue source, I think those are, of course, the main reasons behind this type of deal, right? Because Betsson wants their brand showing on the Boca shirt because Boca is playing the Libertadores, Boca is playing every big competition there is, and of course is getting money from Betsson on the other end, and to finance different activities for the club, or even get a sender back. That would be good. That would be good. I don't know if Riquelme is hearing me right now, but I don't know. Maybe a center back.
Hi, Roman.
Yeah, hey, or center forward too. But yeah, besides that, I was talking the other day with George Harborn, the director of SBC sponsorships, and he has been talking with teams in Brazil. There's a lot, like I said, a lot of companies in Brazilian shirts, in Brazilian football shirts. You'll see a gaming name in most of their shirts. So companies are thinking, am I going to, do I want to be there since everyone else is? What am I getting from being there if everyone else is? But at the same time, they are thinking, what if I'm not there and people think I'm not legit because I am not in the main stage, like I'm not showing in a gaming, in a football shirt. So like Lou said, I think when you see that there's an operator name in a football shirt, or not even the club you support, maybe any of them. If you see a gaming name in a football shirt, you'll probably tend to think they are legit, like of course Betsson is, and you will be more likely to choose them in a market that's very populated with lots and lots of operators.
Perfect. And just to confirm, both you and Lou are Boca fans, correct?
Of course.
Yeah, if you are seeing
We
the
like winning.
thumbnail, yeah. We grew up in the late 90s, early 2000s, so we saw the great era of Boca with Carlos Bianchi, with Riquelme himself, Martin Palermo. So these are names that you'll probably remember from beating Real Madrid and the last time they lost a final game, right? The last time they lost a final was against Boca in the year 2000. So we're a pretty big deal, yeah.
So it's safe to assume next time I see you both, you'll be representing Betsson on the front of your shirt, yeah?
Betsson, if you want to reach out to us, we're free. I can give you my address. That's completely fine.
If Betsson don't get in touch, we'll make sure to update your caricature so you've at least got the Betsson logo there.
I'm okay.
Yeah, we have to update them for sure.
Perfect. So that's all we've got time for today. Fernando and Lou, thank you for joining us. For everything that we've talked about today, we'll put descriptions or links to SBC Not CS in the descriptions below. And to the listeners out there, thank you and goodbye.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of iGaming Daily, brought to you in conjunction with SBC Summit Latino America, being held at the Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Miami on the 31st of October to the 2nd of November. If you want to find out more about some of the subjects raised today, feel free to explore any of the sites in the SBC News Network. Happy reading.